Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the Original Strength Podcast. Got a very special guest this week, Miss Sara-Rivka Yehkutiel. I can't say it, Sarah. Yehkutiel.
Yehkutiel.
Yehkutiel. Sara-Rivka is living in Israel. She is a sixth Dan black belt. Is it a black belt, Sarah?
Yes.
In karate. She's the highest ranking woman in karate in Israel, and she is a grandmother of 12. And Sara-Rivka wants to talk to us today about intrinsic motivation. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Tim, thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor and a privilege. I'm a big fan of yours. Well, I started training in karate in 1974. And of course, this story has a background. When I was a little kid, my mother asked me, do you want to take ballet? And all the other little girls, were taking ballet. And I looked at the outfit and I said, I will not wear pink. And it's frilly. And that is not going to happen. So I rejected ballet. I loved karate. And when I left the dojo, I would go home and I would continue doing the moves. I would not, it didn't occur to me that the lesson is over, so now we stop. I just go home and I'd be thinking, Sensei said, go like this. No, I think it was more like this. And if I was waiting for a bus, I would kick the tree at the bus stop. Because I read a story that in Okinawa, the great masters used to kick trees. And you knew when your front kick was really good was when the tree would move. Of course, they probably had some smaller trees because it's a tropical island, Okinawa. But I had a big oak tree and I would be at the bus stop kicking it. And that's just something that I just did. Nobody ever said to me, okay, now you have homework, go kick a tree. So I made this assumption when I started teaching. I made an assumption that everybody's like me. They probably go home and kick the tree. Well, turns out everybody is not like me, that all different sorts of people have different kinds of motivation, different levels of motivation. And there are people who have internal motivation. You don't have to say anything to them. You teach them something and they practice and they're doing it. And other people will only train once the class starts. They come to the dojo, they put on their uniform, they sit down, and they wait for the class to start. Once the class starts, they put in however much effort they feel like it, which I look at it as a range. So you're from zero effort, that's when they just sit down and say, I'm done, to 100% effort. And you don't usually see 100% effort in a dojo training situation. Sometimes you do. 100% effort is usually, you see that in a tournament where people are competing and there's something on the line. And over the years, what I've noticed is that people have this range, and some people just seem to be born to be motivated, and other people, no matter what I say or do, they're never going to make more of an effort than they feel like it. And certain people go home, they do not practice.
So you said you realized that you were out kicking a tree, and you later realized that not a lot of people are like you, that they don't go home and kick trees,
Right.
which is something I have struggled with for like my whole life. Like for me, it's just something I do to get up and move or train or do whatever. And there's no question in it. Like, it's not a debate. It's just part of what I do, or almost not who I am, but it is something that I am naturally driven to do. There's no struggle as far as will I do it, will I not do it. And I've never understood why other people aren't that way. Like, it for the longest time, it made no sense to me that I was a trainer and people would pay me to tell them what to do, when I would be like, why don't you just, and then not do it. And then two things, I couldn't understand why they were paying me, and then I couldn't understand why they wouldn't go home and do it. And because it was just something I would naturally do. And it took, like, my partner, Danny, eventually, like, even she tells me this all the time, but at the first time she's like, you got to realize people are not like you. And I was like, yeah, but why not? Why don't they just, so I guess my question is, how do you help motivate people that are not like you? Like, so the people that aren't just naturally driven to do, how do you help them do?
That is an excellent question, and it's something that it took me a long time to figure this out. You know, there's a whole range. There's a range of people. So some people, no matter what you do, it's not going to help. They're just not going to change. They don't want to change. In order to change, you have to want to change. Um, One of my friends has an expression: if you want what I have, you have to do what I did to get it. So people who really want it, they'll do anything. The other people, as you said, they won't. Here's the thing, Tim, you and I would be out of a job. I'd be unemployed if it weren't for all these people who aren't that motivated. So I'm willing to train them. You know, when they're in the class, I'm willing to give them suggestions. I've learned to let go. I've learned to let go of it. I've learned to accept them. That's the way that they are. I have one friend, she's not a student, but she's a friend. And for years, she would tell me about her bad health issues, and she was overweight, and the doctor said, this is bad and that's bad, and you're heading down a bad road and it's dangerous. And, and she would say to me, what should I do? And I would give her suggestions because I know what to tell her. And she never did any of it, ever. And eventually I stopped giving her suggestions. Well, she almost died, ended up in the hospital in a really bad shape. And suddenly she became motivated. And now she's a super jock. Now she's my age. She's 60 years old. She wants to become a personal trainer. She goes to the gym every day. She lost all this weight. She's fit. But nothing I said ever helped all those years because she just wasn't ready. It was that fear of losing her life. So that fear, that can also motivate people. What's going on now today with the corona it's an interesting thing. Everybody's stuck at home. My students, my neighbors, all sorts of people are saying, I need to work out. I need to work out because I'm home and I can't. When you leave your house and you run around all day, you get tired out, even if you didn't work out. And that's not happening. And they're stressed out and they need to work out. So some people are. What I'm seeing is there's a certain percentage of people who normally don't work out and they are working out. Now, today, a neighbor was kind enough to drop something off for me since I'm quarantined here in my home. And so I leaned out the window to speak to her and I said, how are you doing? She said, I need to work out. I need to work out, but I'm not. So I said, okay, so how come you're not working out? She said, well, I think I'm going to put on a tape. I'm going to do Zumba. But then I realized I have to make lunch. And then I think, I'm going to put a tape on and do Zumba. But then, no, I have to fold the laundry. And I'm like, okay, gotcha. And I'm sure you know as well as I do, what's the problem here? She's not scheduling it into her life. She's doing the laundry first. You have to prioritize your training. Do the hard thing first. And if it's hard for you to work out, then do that first. Then fold your laundry. The laundry can wait. You know, laundry, I mean, your children will starve to death. So, okay, you do have to make lunch for them. But the laundry, let it sit there. Take care of yourself first. Anyway, I think scheduling is really important.
So for you, from your experience, motivation has to be internal. There has to be something that drives a person. And also if they're trying to achieve a goal, then like say showing up every day or training, they need to have a schedule or a routine and prioritize it. Is that?
Exactly. Like I do a little yoga in the morning. It's because when you get to my age, you get up and the body's like all creaky. So I do a little yoga and I stand on my head, and I have to do that before I can eat breakfast. So if I don't do that, I mean, I have days where I'll be in bed and it gets cold here in the winter, and I'll be under all the blankets, and it's cold in my house. It's like, I don't want to get up. So I just stay there. But then eventually I get hungry. So I really want breakfast. So I get up, but I can't eat breakfast yet because I have to go do my yoga and stand on my head. And sometimes it's only 5 minutes of yoga. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, but I did it. So that's my commitment to myself. So I think there are people like you who always feel like working out. That's awesome. And then there are people like, oh, you don't feel like it, but you do it anyway.
Yeah, so like you said, there's different levels or people on a different spectrum of motivation, right? So my level, I would call it a sickness, and I'm learning now how to let go of that in this season of my life and actually listen to my body, not necessarily my brain, but my body. Because my brain's going to say shut up and go do it anyway. But if I'm learning now how to pause for a second and like if something like so my plans I'm willing to let them go if my body tells me otherwise. So so that's me unlearning or trying to unregimen myself, whereas you've learned the secrets to your motivation, how to continue to give yourself a care if you need it to make sure that you do what you need to do to achieve your goals.
Well, okay, so I'm also a recovering exercise addict. So I used to be like you, and I would, I've had many injuries. I overdid it. My main goal today in life, I've had so many different goals. It was to win that tournament. It was to get a compliment from that teacher. It was to get that next belt. And I trained really hard for all of my belt tests because it's a serious, serious event. It's like a triathlon. It takes hours. It requires a high degree of endurance and doing everything well under pressure. So now my only goal is to not injure myself. That's it. Because I love training. I'm still addicted to training. I train pretty much every day. I laugh at myself because sometimes I think like somebody will say to me, what did you do today? Did you work out? I'm like, no, I didn't work out today. And then I realized that I did half an hour of yoga in the morning and I walked for an hour. And for a lot of people my age, that's as much exercise as they get in a week. So to me, it's like I didn't really work out because I didn't do karate. So if there were no kettlebells involved, nothing really aerobic or, it was like I didn't work out.
So you practice and teach karate, and you do yoga, and you train with kettlebells. What do you do with the kettlebells?
Oh, I love my kettlebells. So, well, I weigh 47 kilo. So I do deadlifts. The heaviest kettlebell that I have is 24 kilos. I want to get a 48 kilo kettlebell because I know, I think that's just everybody, I think, should be able to lift their own weight with a deadlift. But I have a 24, so I do more repetitions with a 24. I do swings. I do snatch. I do military press. I do clean and press. And I love Turkish get-ups.
Hey guys, I'm busting into this interview real quick. Sara-Rivka is about to give you an amazing tip regarding Turkish get-ups and really any type of strength training. But this is priceless, and if you pay attention, there is gold in this. So here it goes.
So what happened was just before we went into this lockdown, I had decided, let's see what'll happen if I do Turkish get-ups every day. I had been doing them 2 or 3 times a week. So I decided to do them every day. And my deal was, it doesn't have to be the heaviest kettlebell. Like if you're going to do it every day, you should lift one day heavy and the next day light and maybe the next day medium. So I switched back. The heaviest that I can do a Turkish get up with good form is a 14 kilo. So I go between, I do 8, 10, 12, and 14, and I alternate. And I write it down. And so I pretty much stick to my goal. I've been doing, well, I had pneumonia last week, but other than that, other than being sick, I've been doing 5 Turkish get-ups every day.
So just in case you missed it, the goal that I was talking about that Sara-Rivka was presenting is she does 5 Turkish get-ups every day, which is 10 total get-ups, 5 per side, but she varies the load every day. Some days it's easy, some days it's challenging, some days it's easy, but the goal is in she shows up every day with one of the best movements you could do. If that's the only movement you could do for the rest of your life, you would be healthy, strong, and fully capable and able to do whatever you want. But she shows up every day, she does it, the Turkish get-up, which is phenomenal, and then she varies the load every day. Not the same weight every day, not always hard, not always easy, but she goes up and down. And if you're listening, that is golden. I'll shut up now and we'll go back to Sara-Rivka.
And the other stuff I just play with. I have fun. I do about a half an hour of training a day with kettlebells and chin-ups. And sometimes I like to do, what they call the sissy test? You know that? You start off, you do 25 snatches and then 1 burpee, then 24 snatches, then 2 burpees. So you ladder up and you ladder down with the burpees and the snatch. I pick things like that. Like that's what I focused on, and that kept my workout fun. And I think a lot of regular people, let's call them like earthlings, people who are not exercise addicts, okay, I think that they sometimes see exercise as something dull and boring, and they don't know how to change it up and make it fun. And so I think that's part of what they need to do. Look at varying routines. One day do yoga, one day do Zumba, what people normally do. And I know with my karate students, because we have the kata, that makes for an interesting variation, because you can do all sorts of things with your kata and change them and have fun with that.
Awesome. So perhaps then the secret is to help everybody become like us, is that they just haven't found what's interesting to them. And if they find something that's interesting to them, maybe they'll gravitate towards it and be more involved or inclined to dive into it regularly. Maybe?
I don't think so, Tim. I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
I am 44.
No way, you look so young. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I think in my experience, what I've learned is that people have a certain personality and you have to work within that. So everybody needs to move. Everybody needs to exercise, because you just need that to be healthy. And it's unfortunate that not everybody's willing to. But I think, again, like I talk about that range, some people like me, and the people who aren't willing to do anything over here. So when you have somebody who's in the middle, that's where I think these tips can really help. They're willing to hear the tips. They're willing to try them out. They're willing to experiment. And if you have a certain level of motivation, then these tips will help. I think there's some people I've accepted this. I used to try so hard to motivate my students. So it's hard to make somebody want something that they don't want. And I literally tore my hair out and beat my head against the wall trying to get my students to be more motivated than they were. And I've given up. I accept the way they are. I tell them this, and this is the most important thing that I say to them. I am only willing to invest in you to the same extent that you're willing to invest in yourself. Not an inch more. If you show me that you're willing to go a mile, I'll go that mile with you. I'll be running alongside of you saying, you can do it, you can do it. But if you're only willing to go a half a mile, then that's as far as I'll go. No more, no less.
Wow. You can't make somebody want something they don't want. And on that note, Sara-Rivka, thank you so much. You are a ball of energy. So thank you for sharing your tips and your stories and your experience with us. I really appreciate it.
It was a great pleasure, Tim. Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Original Strength Podcast. If you made it this far, thank you so much.